So there I was, eating frozen burgers in Brittany, in France, because even in France they have frozen burgers. And I was wondering where my life had gone wrong. And I still can't forget that. It keeps, that's a memory that keeps jumping back at me, even almost 30 years later. Not the taste of those burgers, and they were pretty awful, but that sense of being lost and no direction. But even so, I felt like I was on the edge of something important. If you're new here, my name's Mike. I spent the last almost 30 years trying to help people tell their stories. I've always been fascinated by how we remember some things and not the others. You know, some memories kind of stick with us all the time, and the others fade back into nothingness, even if they are triggered by certain things from time to time. And there's a reason why those persistent memories come back, because they're signposts. They're the important times. They're the moments of change in your life that are important to remember even many years later. They're signpostings, at least if you know how to read them. Think about it. You know, all the thousands of days we all live, and I hate to think how many thousand days I've had. I don't really want to work it out. But why do certain memories stay with us? And let's face it, majority of them we forget completely. I can't remember the things that Manisha was doing things 10 years ago. So why do I remember only certain things and not the others? Apart from the fact that your brain would explode if you remembered everything. But I've got big turning points in my life, not just that frozen burger. When I first went to university, when I got my first job, when I was on a milk round when I was 13, I think. When I first arrived in Paris, when there's all kinds of really important moments that we all have, that we all remember. The number of times in corporate offices in Paris when I realised that I really wasn't made for the corporate world. I was kind of unemployable. Because those memories were trying to tell me something. I couldn't see it quite yet because I was just too busy trying to be what other people thought I should be. And to be quite frank, what I thought I should be as well, what my conditioning, what my education had taught me over the years, this is how things are. And if you can't be like that, well, you're a failure. But there is another way of looking at it. You know, those memories that haunt us all the time, they're not just echoes of the past, of bad memories of stuff. They're the key to understanding who we are and who we are supposed to be. Just one example. I've always been attracted to the notion of speaking more than one language. Not necessarily translation, because I remember when I was first at university, I hated translation. I was glad never to have to have done it again. But I was always jungling two worlds. In a corporate life and a cultural life, watching French cinema and watching English language cinema, they were just part of my world. Even as a copywriter, we are translating the thoughts between an audience and a product and a service. And now I'm translating people and their own stories. But it took me years, and I mean years, to see that pattern. I just felt like a square peg in a round hole. In fact, I was told by a boss that I was a square peg in a round hole. And I kind of agreed, but didn't want to agree because of all that kind of education and stuff. And I should have seen the signs back in 1984. It took me many years to realise that wasn't a flaw, it was a feature and a benefit, to be frank. It was trying to tell me something about my purpose. Then in 2020, apart from everything else that happened in 2020, my life kind of changed. After my mother died, I found myself the responsible person in the family. I was top of the genealogical tree. There was nobody else above me and only a few people below me as well. I found myself the custodian of the family stories, the family documents, for nothing else, or all the my parents' documents that I found, the letters between them that I found I never knew existed. All stories that would be lost if nobody preserved them. And then it hit me. All these memories of not fitting in, of bridging different stories, of helping others help themselves and express themselves, they were all pointing to something. They were pointing to my purpose. But as fascinating as all this isn't really about me at all. Everyone has those recurring memories, those things that hold them back all the time. The big question is, what are they trying to tell you? Your purpose is often hiding in plain sight. Mine certainly was. Because it was a result of things that happened to me over COVID, in the aftermath of my mother's kind of suffering with Alzheimer's at the end, and her dying, and me reassessing everything afterwards, and the work I did with a coach, and suddenly realised that I had a story worth telling. People were interested in little old me, who just kind of passed the wrong side of 60 and thought he was not necessarily finished, but thought that no one was interested in, and what's the point? And my purpose now is to tell you, dear reader, dear watcher, that you have a story worth telling as well. There's an audience out there for everybody. I did Seth Godin's OTMBA, which unfortunately doesn't exist anymore. But I almost talked myself out of doing it because I didn't feel good enough. I thought I would be completely out of my depth. I saw the videos on the website and all these wonderful people saying how wonderful it was, and I thought, that's way above my pay grade. But when I got in there, they were all struggling with the same things as I was. They had powerful stories, great memories, but they couldn't link them all up. So here's what I've learnt about learning your purpose through stories. Pay attention to the memories that won't leave you alone, that bug you all the time. The ones that are still there years later. Why are they still there? It's likely they're not interrupting you, they're trying to tell you something. Second, look for patterns. It would be great if you could take the time just to list out some of these memories. Steve Jobs said about creativity, it's all about joining the dots. Are there any dots that you could join between things that happened now and 20 years ago, perhaps? Is there any causal connection? And not necessarily in what happened, but in how you felt about what happened in the moment, after the time, with retrospect. What situations keep coming up in your life, keep recurring? What roles do you naturally fall into across all the different roles that you've had, perhaps? Are there any similarities, even if you may be in completely different jobs? Are there themes in there? Thirdly, and this is quite crucial, what do other people come to you looking for? Not what you think you should be doing, what the world around you has told you you should be doing, but what do people actually ask you for? I was too busy thinking I needed to be something else. I needed to be more professional. I needed more preparation. Then all of a sudden people start coming to me and said, can you help me tell my story? This is a real good technique to use. When you sit down and you use your weapon of choice, really use a spreadsheet. I use a Trello board. You can use a very big sheet of paper if you like and sellotape them all together. But you divide your life into chunks, ideally 5 years. I mean, if you're like me, you've got quite a lot of chunks. If you're only 25, you've got a few of them. And for each of those 5 years, and I'm including your childhood in this, although perhaps you can make a longer one for your childhood, start pulling together the things that you were doing the things that you learnt, who were your teachers, who were your friends, who were your enemies, what we were afraid of, all stuff like that. Now, it's not the kind of thing you can do in 5 minutes. You're going to know the broad outlines, when you started school, when you left school, when you had your first job, etc., etc. But the beauty is in the details that you'll be able to fill in afterwards, all those little things that you may well have forgotten that are going to start jumping out at you. Because the thing is as well, you don't have to have a world-changing purpose. You don't need to go and want to go and save the whales. That ages me. You don't need to go and want to save the planet to have a life's purpose. Like I said, my purpose is helping people tell their stories. And it's often the most seemingly boring stories that are the most engaging and the most interesting to most people. So here's what I want you to do over the next few days. Just pay attention to the memories that keep cropping up, because they will. So here's what I want you to do over the next few days. Just pay attention to the memories that keep cropping up, because they will. This isn't just nostalgia, because there may even be bad memories, but the bad memories can teach us just as much as the good ones can. Don't push them away as distractions. Just ask yourself for a couple of minutes, what are these memories trying to tell you? If you're willing to share, I'd love you to drop some of your memories in the comments and we'll have a little discussion about it. Let's start exploring what actually might be your purpose that you've been missing all your life. If this resonates with you, if you are one of these people that believes in the power of our stories to reveal our own purpose, I'd love you to come on this journey with me. So hit subscribe and all the other YouTubey stuff, like ring the bell and give it a like. I'm here to help the optimists find their voice and tell those stories that matter. Remember, your purpose isn't something you need to invent. You don't need to overthink this. It's already there, woven into the fabric of your memories, just waiting for you to notice it and to recognize it. And on that note, I will see you next time.